Hello and welcome to a very exciting regulation gaming event. That's right, it's time to study those browser-based frivolities who all skipped teacher's aide duties to play in the computer lab when you weren't cutting tracks for your techno album in GarageBand. Welcome to Professor Halfpenny's Cache of Flash. I thought it only fitting that we start off with one that I might introduce you to, or if you already know of it, one that we can take a look back on together. Radical Aces by Radical Play is a 3D flight game that was actually not programmed in Flash. So ironically, for our first cache of Flash, we will not be looking at any Flash game. We will instead be looking at a Java game. These were also playable in the browser, and really, as I'm sure you imagine, when I say we're going to look at Flash games, what I really mean is we're going to look at browser games, but I wanted to call it Cache of Flash, so sue me. Well, in Radical Aces, we have to defend this moon base. Sorry, this is a base on Mars, the Mars station. And the enemy will send waves of different enemy types at us. And we have one of a few ships to choose from. What do you call them? Ships? Fighters. One of a few fighters to choose from. They all have different characteristics, as you can tell. Some are faster, some are more durable. The number of emergency light speed jumps they have varies from airplane to airplane. And you go around and you fly them and you try to take out these enemies before they do too much damage to your Mars station base. The flight model will take some getting used to. It's very, very twitchy. But I would say just do the best you can, try to get used to it, and just shoot and shoot and shoot. When you are in range, your projectiles will they'll like lock on and snap to your enemy. And it almost gives it the effect of something like the missile circuses from Macross or something like that. And it's pretty satisfying, to be perfectly honest, as you shoot and your projectiles just snap and lock directly onto the enemy and just like get sucked into them. It's something that's pretty cool, and it helps mitigate the issue that you get no precise control in this game. So you will fly around and twitch around, and you won't be able to really aim much. So if you can just shoot in the general direction of the enemy, then your projectiles will lock on and snap right to them. So a limitation of the game that is mitigated by some really smart design. The other thing is the light speed jump, a bit of an emergency dash that lets you engage with or disengage from enemies. It's critical to use, so you have to keep track of how many jumps you have in reserve so you don't run out and then find yourself in a pickle. And the last little detail here is that there's an archway in front of your runway, and if you fly through it, then you can repair your fighter and also replenish all of its jump. It's all of the light speed jumps. So that's another cool little thing that you can do. They'll send tanks at you, they'll send various aircraft at you, and it's pretty challenging to keep them off the base. Really, you don't get much warning. By the time you're up in the air, they'll kind of be swarming all over it. So you see them going in and shooting at the base. There's some nice base destruction, some nice rudimentary physics on these really beautiful flat shaded polygons. You love to see that. And as you can tell, the damage to your moon base is persistent from sortie to sortie, from wave to wave, and you can pick your aircraft. If you get shot down or if you crash, you may go again. However, the aircraft that crashed will no longer be available. You have to choose an aircraft that is available. So that's a nice, another little bit of strategy. The nice little thin layers of strategy in this fast-paced action game are, one, to try to prioritize the targets correctly to minimize damage to the Mars station that you're trying to defend, and two, to consider the aircraft somewhat, and you could think of it in terms of aircraft roles, and you can see like the intelligence report and see how many of each enemy type they'll be sending at you this time. But it doesn't matter too much, if I'm perfectly honest with you, and a lot of the times the enemies will crash into each other, or they'll crash into the base, or crash into the ground. So there's some issues there, but it's not a big deal because the game is so challenging that when they do crash, it's a nice little bit of grace. You'll grow to appreciate that instead of having to deal with them all on your own. You'll notice my mouse pointer here. I had to zoom in the window on the browser. So Flashpoint, which is the emulator that I'm using to run Flash games, it's an amazing project. So please go check out Flashpoint. The catalog of old browser-based and Flash games that they have is really extensive. And it's an incredible project that seems to be a labor of love, and we really appreciate people like that who put the time in for a little reward. They do it just for the love of it. I would encourage you to check out Flashpoint, the Flashpoint emulator, or is it a front end? I don't even know, but the way that it works for a lot of these games, including Radical Aces, is that it launches a browser window, but the resolution is such that Radical Aces is very small on the screen. And I don't know if there's a more elegant way to deal with this, but the way that I deal with it is I just zoom in windows. You can just, there's a hotkey, look it up, I can't remember right now, but there's a hotkey for zooming in to the image on your display. And so I just zoomed it in, and when you move the mouse cursor, it scoots the frame around, and so that's why I have to keep the mouse pointer there, because if I go too far off the screen, then it will scoot the image all the way off of the game screen. But anyway, that's pretty much what Radical Aces is. It's a special one. The persistence of the base damage and the persistence of your aircraft, if you lose them, make it, they give it a little bit of something extra. It's not just an arcadey, fly around game. And hey, we all love things like Star Fox, and the graphics in this game are really cool. I mean, in a browser at the time, it was pretty amazing to get any polygonal 3D game going. To me, when I first saw Radical Aces, something like it was unheard of. This always was one of the most special browser-based games for me. I know there's a sequel. We'll probably check out the sequel. It is on Flashpoint, at least the shareware demo version of the sequel is on Flashpoint. So we'll probably get to that at some point, but please play Radical Aces. If you like flight games, if you like Star Fox style arcade 3D fly around flight games, this one is so fun. It's such a simple concept that's executed to fantastic effect. And with that, we will end this very special Regulation Gaming production. Thank you for watching Professor Halfpenny's Cache of Flash. We'll see you on the next one.